welcome to this edition of Yonder Law. In this edition of Yonder Law, I'm discussing the legal issues surrounding the arrest of Uche Nwosu from a church in Imo State, Nigeria. Before I proceed, let's hear directly from Uche Nwosu.
You all know very well that I buried my mom on the 22nd of December 2021. And on the 26th, we came for outing service. The church started around 11:30. While the church service was still going on, some military men were sighted outside, and I asked my PA, oh, maybe it's one of the VIP that came for the memorial, this church service of my mom. Then I asked them, please, if there is anybody that is outside, they should bring the person in if it is a VIP. Before they could come back, I saw masked police, I don't even know, masked policemen. I thought they, because there is no sign to show that they are police. More than 15 of them invade inside the church premises. And they cocked their gun and say, Oga, move, come out, we're looking for you. I say, what is the problem? What have I done? One of them came and hit my back and said, if you don't stand up now, before I could even say, what is the problem? They went up to the altar and cocked their gun and pointed it at me. I said, what is the problem? One now dragged me up. I said, tell me what I have done. Before you know, they started shooting. The church members, the parish priests, everybody was running helter-skelter inside church. They shot, and then dragged me like a criminal inside the church when church service was going on and brought me out. When they brought me out, my orderly and my policeman was trying to find out from them, where are you people from? They were not telling us where they are from because all of them were in their fakes. They were all masked. There is nothing to identify them. Apart from some of the vehicles that brought them, where my boys and so many people identified that those vehicles came from government house, Imo State government house.
Okay, so you heard it clearly from him. He has narrated how he was arrested, how he was pushed into a waiting vehicle, how he was maltreated by the police, handcuffed, his clothes removed, and then he was flown to Abuja, where he met with the Inspector General of Police before he was taken back to Imo State. The issues of law, what are they? The first issue of law is the issue of arrest warrant. The law would have expected that in an arrest of that magnitude, an arrest warrant ought to have been issued by a magistrate of a court within the area in Imo State, and also by a high court judge of competent jurisdiction. The kind of arrest that we saw there in the video and has circulated over social media is the type that necessitated, that would have been expected, that an arrest warrant be issued against Uche Nwosu. So if there was no arrest warrant in this case, there's a clear issue, serious issue of law in that case. The second one is the issue of invitation by the police. It is expected in modern policing that before a person's house is raided, before someone is violently arrested, that's the way it was done to Uche Nwosu, it is expected that Uche Nwosu also have been served with an invitation letter to come to the police and answer to the allegations leveled against him in any petition. So if there was no invitation, letter of invitation in this case, then I'm afraid the police did not act well, did not act right in the circumstance. A letter also have been given to him, calling him to come answer to questions. Now, the law will not expect that a letter should be issued and served on someone if someone is caught committing an offense. And then the courts, the police, they have a duty to stop him from committing that offense. So instantly he is committing the offense, the police have seen him, they can stop him, they can arrest him without necessarily issuing him a letter of invitation. But that was not the case in this case. Uche Nwosu was not committing any offense in that church. And so an invitation letter also have been rightly issued to Uche Nwosu in line with modern policing. The other issue here is the issue of his fundamental rights. From the story stated so far, at least 3 of his fundamental rights have been breached. The first fundamental right that has been breached is the right to dignity of his human person, which is in section 34 of the Constitution. That right entails that everybody, whether you are accused of commission of an offense or not, you deserve to be treated like a human person. Now, the treatment of a human person is that of treatment that does not accommodate violence against the person. So, arresting him forcefully, handcuffing him, throwing him into a waiting vehicle, throwing him to the ground and marching on him, slapping him and all that. All this constitute a breach of the rights to dignity of his human person. And make no mistake, this right is available to everybody, the rich, the poor, the high, the low, and everybody in society, including Uche Nwosu. He is entitled to that right in the Constitution. So, the events that unfolded in Imo State, when looked at closely, when you use the glasses, the eyeglasses of law to look at it, it qualifies for a breach of Uche Nwosu's fundamental right to dignity of his human person. There are no two words about that. More so, the removal of Uche Nwosu's clothes and leaving him only with singlets. The question in law is, would Uche Nwosu have dressed that way to go outside from his house? Would he have dressed the way he dressed, only with singlet, to go to church? The answer is no. Now, making him to dress that way, removing his clothes and leaving him only with singlet, qualifies for something done to degrade him and reduce him in dignity. That is a breach of his fundamental rights to dignity of his human person. Now, there is also the issue of his fundamental rights to freedom of movement and personal liberty. Every citizen of the country, by the Constitution, has a right to move freely without restraint. If the person's fundamental right is to be restrained, if the person's movement is to be restrained, okay, it has to be done in accordance with the law. The handcuffing of Uche Nwosu from the church to the airport to Abuja and so on, and stopping him to move freely, okay, touches on his fundamental rights of freedom of movement and personal liberty. And so, if that arrest is lawful, that's beautiful. No breach of his fundamental rights can be complained of. But if the arrest is unlawful, if the arrest was unjustified in the first place, then his fundamental right to dignity, his fundamental right to freedom of movement, and his fundamental right to personal liberty has been infringed upon. And these are fundamental rights in the Constitution. The other question is, what is the remedy available to Uche? Uche can go to court and take up a fundamental rights suit against the police as an institution, or against the persons that directly arrested him and then breached his fundamental rights. If he's able to satisfy the court that these things had been done against him unlawfully, then damages is certainly going to be awarded against the police or against anybody that he has sued, in this direction. And public apology will be required, and also damages will be required by the courts to be paid to Uche Nwosu. Now, before we go, fundamental rights are available to everybody, irrespective of religion, irrespective of status, irrespective of political affiliation, irrespective of anything. Fundamental rights are available to everybody. And so when the police is going about doing their lawful duty, it is expected that police should also respect the fundamental rights of citizens by the police doing their work in the best civilized manner, the way it is done in other climes. Thank you very much for watching this very episode of You and the Law. Do remain blessed. I remain your host. I remain your lawyer, Hekemi Nudim, and I'm always glad to know that you are there keeping me company on this channel.